as we saw I don't even know if, what do they say, banana storm or whatever, but it was pretty bad. And so we wanted to get Landon from the National Weather Service on, mostly because we wanted to see how he decorated his office this week. Landon, so are you full Christmas now on Black Friday?
Well, I haven't Black Friday yet. I was thinking about going by Macy's on the way into the office this morning, but it was just too many cars in the parking lot, so I didn't have quite the time. I'll probably go right after this and then to Home Depot and also get some more items for my office because my office is very festive right now.
Wow.
I'm trying to get about 10,000 more lights in here. I think I can hang them from the rafters somehow. But right now I have an air conditioning issue. I think the unit for the front half of the building where all the management offices are, that broke down earlier in the week. So it is pretty hot in here right now.
And there's
so
no
I gotta
windows
get that fixed. We have windows, but they don't open.
Wow.
I can open up the blinds, and
that's the federal government for you.
But yeah, we had quite a bit of weather on Monday, and we were looking at that potential for heavy showers and gusty winds. But the way it played out on Monday exceeded our expectations. And so I'm starting an analysis. I'm working with some folks from the regional headquarters office. We're going to be looking into the details of all the analysis of the satellite data, the radar data, the models, different models, see what was, how things transpired that day, as well as the operational decisions process, what decisions were made and what data the ops duty forecasters were looking at, because we don't want that to happen again. There's a lot of feedback on Facebook and other social media platforms that people were caught off guard without warning.
Right,
and so for me, that's a worst case scenario because communications and forewarning has been my forte and my focus since 2017. So we really want to figure out how to prevent that from happening. And we have another similar event set up to come this weekend. I don't think the dynamics are quite there as they were on Monday. So we're not going to see an exact repeat of what was on Monday, but there is that potential. So I'm going to flip you over to the computer screen right quick. And I do want to bring out, we do have a flash flood watch. So this means there's potential for flash flooding during this watch period. That was issued this morning at 4 a.m. by my brother. He's on the night shift right now. You put that out at 4 o'clock this morning following a hydrologic outlook that was issued for the region yesterday. That means there's potential for flash flooding. And again, that's through Saturday night for Guam, Rototinian, and Saipan. Now, we get a lot of questions on social media. What is the difference between a watch and a warning? And that's where social media has been a fantastic tool for us since we started our page in 2013, because that provides us direct feedback from the public. If people are confused or they have a comment about something, our processes, our operations, our products, comment on our Facebook page because I'm reading those. And this gives us insight to how we can do better and how we can explain to people what different terminology means. Because the Weather Service terminology isn't always non-weather user friendly. Right. And so we're dealing with a lot with the social science of things. So flash flood watch, that means the ingredients are there, but it's not expected at this time. It's a possibility. So think of Thanksgiving. You have a Thanksgiving watch, all the ingredients are there. We have a turkey. It might still be frozen if you're not careful. Cranberry sauce. You have potatoes and carrots and celery. You have all the ingredients, but Thanksgiving's not certain yet because it may not be prepared and you may not have lunch or dinner because forget about it, I can't cook. So that's a watch. The ingredients are there. But you have a Thanksgiving warning when those ingredients come together and boom, you have a full-blown Thanksgiving meal. So a lot of us, we had Thanksgiving conditions yesterday. They were observed and occurring across the island. And so you probably would have considered that a Thanksgiving warning. Now in the extreme levels, the Weather Service uses emergency terminology like a tornado emergency or a flash flood emergency. That's when things are going crazy. For flash flood watches, or flash flood emergencies, numerous water rescues, lots of widespread damage occurring, and it's expected to get worse. Also for like tornado emergencies in the Midwest and the southeastern states, when you have these long track catastrophic tornadoes, EF5 intensity tornadoes, and more, wreaking all kinds of ravage in urban areas. Those are emergencies. So National Lampoon's, you could call that emergency, but really I envy them.
I was going to say, shout out to the Griswold family.
You know, they're my goal, and that's been a family staple for many, many, many years, to get my house like that. So back to the weather. So again, flash flood watch. If you go to our webpage, weather.gov/GUM, this is what you will see. That's, again, GUM, not /Guam. It's GUM. That's our ICAO code. We have a small craft advisory in effect, a rip current statement, flash flood watch, and a hydrologic outlook. Those are all in effect for the Mariana Islands right now. And so specifically those details, let me flip through it. The flash flood watch, that's now through Saturday evening for showers and thunderstorms moving through the region, bringing potentially heavy rainfall, causing flash flooding. So we could see these conditions develop overnight tonight and then through the day tomorrow. Out on the waters, we do have a small craft advisory because those winds are picking up. That's for east to southeast winds of 15 to 25 knots with gusts up to 30 knots, and combined seas building to between 8 and 11 feet. And that high risk of rip currents, that's been steady for the east facing reefs through all of this week. Currently, the winds are out of the northeast about 14 to 15 knots. As you can see on the radar, these returns, those are not showers. That's what we call the butterfly effect. And that's from the sea spray over the ocean. Once the winds hit about 15 knots and greater over the waters, we start seeing these false echoes, and that's from the sea spray in the atmosphere. So that's one of our telltale signs of moderate to fresh trade winds over the water. So again, it's dry out there right now, just a very few light showers farther outside of our region. These things are popping up, but we're gonna see these showers increasing throughout the day. And I'm gonna go to the water vapor satellite, and this is what we're dealing with. So the yellows and oranges, these are the dry air. So Wake Islands and then Hawaii, it's always very dry and arid over there. But we have this plume of moisture across Chuuk, Pohnpei, Koshari, Madro, and this is all surging our way. So I'm going to zoom in. We have that upper level feature. This is a upper level circulation. This was a factor on the Monday event, but it was in a different position associated with the low level disturbance on Monday. So those ingredients came together. This one's not aligned exactly like Monday was, but we do have that upper level disturbance here that's going to help fuel the showers and thunderstorms later today and tomorrow. And then this low level moisture pushing in with the trade wind surge coming in. So all these whites, that's intense showers and thunderstorms, very deep convection reaching high up into the atmosphere. The blues are more mid and upper level cloudiness, but once we see these white clouds, this water vapor, this very moist air come over our area, that's where the showers will increase. I'm going to flip over to the infrared satellite. And again, it's pretty clear over Guam, Mauritania, and Saipan this morning. Not much action this morning. So if you want to do Black Friday shopping, do it now. Do it this afternoon. We're not going to see things start moving in this afternoon like it did on Monday. It's going to be more like tonight and then into tomorrow. So showers will be increasing tonight. We see that leading edge of stuff moving across 150 longitude. That's starting to creep our way. This is primarily mid and upper level cloudiness, but below that, there is some low level moisture starting to creep in beyond 150 east, and it's coming our way. So this is all going to shift over towards our region again this evening, tonight, and tomorrow. And again, if we see that potential increasing for flash flooding, we will upgrade the flash flood watch to a flash flood warning, which means flash flooding is imminent or occurring. So that's going to be the theme, and we have to watch out for this. We are communicating this on our Facebook and our Twitter pages at the moment so that people are not caught off guard. Looking out to the waters, this is the Retidian buoy off of Retidian Point. The green, that's current observations. The purple is the forecast. We're going to see seas build through the day, and then tonight through tomorrow. This is why we have that small craft advisory for higher seas in response to the stronger trade winds. It's going to be pushing through in the next 36 to 48 hours. Seas could be approaching between 8 and 11 feet, and also similar conditions at Tenapag and Saipan. The seas will be building through the next 24 hours. I'm going to go to one of our hand maps. This is, again, I showed you, I think it was last week, The hand analysis, this is a polar orbiting satellite. So Guam and Sinai is right there. Those green colors, those are the wind barbs showing winds of 15 to 20 knots out of the east-northeast. But down to our southeast, we have a lot of yellows. And what we're seeing is a lot of trade winds. So we're going to be seeing these trade winds, not just through the week, not through the weekend, but into next week. And we can see a showery pattern. This is where the axis of convergence, the ITCZ, is located across Micronesia. So it could be a very wet pattern for most of Eastern and Central Micronesia, and possibly for us into the week. Will it be a widespread washout? Probably not, but it's going to be wetter than it's been this week, with the exception of Monday and Tuesday. So that's all I've got. The big thing to keep in mind is stay tuned to updates. Keep an eye to the sky. If you have tents and canopies that survived on Monday, make sure they're secured, because it's going to be gusty tonight. We could see wind gusts again up to 30 to 35 miles per hour. Some of those heavier showers where you have the thunderstorms, those thunderstorms could push down those stronger winds that's 2,000 to 5,000 feet above the surface, push those down to the ground and cause problems for anything that's loose or not secured at the ground level.
Landon, let me just ask you a couple of questions about Monday. First, what was up with the sunset and that it like had that orange hue?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful sunset, and you can get those colors. We've had purple sunsets a couple of months ago, and then we have the orange ones, and that's just a matter of the moisture content and different cloud layers that's all through the atmosphere. So depending on where those clouds and the moisture content, the thickness of those clouds, you can get a whole assortment of hues in the sky.
Right. And then I understand what you're saying about the wind, because Monday, especially around sunset, the wind was crazy, and we saw some really beautiful cloud formations.
Yeah, you could call it a banana storm. I know my brother's mother-in-law, she has a lot of banana trees, and a number of those fell in response to those winds. So that was a loss for her. But by all means, it was a banana storm, although it was not a tropical system. There are currently no active tropical cyclones in the region. But like I said, on Monday, the season's not completely over yet. And we can still see a couple of cyclones spin up in the region in the coming weeks, possibly some activity next week, but that's going to be all west of us. So it's going to be more of a thing for the Philippines Sea, possibly into the Philippines, but no tropical weather activity for us. We're still kind of on that teetering edge of the windy trade wind season coming in. Will it be a dry one? Not this week.
So you talked about the comments on social media about, and there were some I saw that people were saying, oh, we were blindsided, we didn't get a heads up. And then you mentioned that you were doing some analysis on that. So what was it that kind of got, I don't know if it got by you guys, or what was it that was lost in the translation?
Well, that's what I'm going to be figuring out. I've talked to the regional headquarters, and I was actually on vacation this week. So when I finished up with you on Monday, I left the office, and then I came back in when all that stuff started pouring in because of everything going on. My phone was going crazy with phone calls, messages. So I've ended up working all week. But that's what I want to figure out. I want to look at all the data that was available. We've archived all the model forecasts, the satellite imagery, the radar imagery from 5 or 6 hours before the event, and then on through the duration of the event. And we're going to fine tune, pick all the details, all the models, see what information was available. We're going to talk with the forecasters on duty and find out what their reasoning was, what analysis they were doing, their timeline of issuing bulletins, and how we can speed that up and get stuff out earlier, because this isn't, it doesn't happen always like that, but for some reason, these things came together in a not so favorable outcome. And so I want to prevent that from ever happening again, because our goal is to forecast and forewarn people and make sure things are communicated. There was a couple other things with the communication side of things, and that's been an ongoing issue since I took into the communications and social science since 2017. I want to be working with the media and also our core partners in the region, how we can better communicate. And this was something I tackled in 2018 with some focus groups. And I think it's something that we need to revisit again to figure out how we can communicate better. COVID's been a kind of a cramp in the situation with how we can meet and work together on things, but definitely I'll reach out to KUAM and other media outlets to see how we can get a broader discussion, right, and much better when COVID can get out of the way, so we can have that more personal, face-to-face contact
Right, yeah.
and really
just KUAM is
work
fine.
on these things.
Landon, yeah, anytime you want to come on in a spot situation, I mean, shoot us a message. We'll get you on right away, whether or not it's on the link or on our social media. We're always glad to share your information.
And that would be great, because I think that's the key. I know in the States where you have wireless emergency alerts, we don't have that capability here in the islands.
Right.
That's eventually going to come our way, and that's going to be a huge advance of our capabilities to warn not just people that are aware of things, but everybody that's aware or not aware of the weather, because your phone's going to be alerting you to any advisories that we put out as we put it out. So that's going to be a huge increase in our capabilities, but that's still probably a couple years to come. The other thing is, in the States, you have broadcast meteorologists, where we do not have that sector here on the islands. Every TV station in most cities have their own weather department where they can break into live programming and say, blah, 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 this is what's going on. And you can alert a mass population relatively instantly and cover stuff as they change. And so that's the other key, is things change quickly out here. And so things can change from 1 hour to the next hour. In the States, where you have broadcast meteorologists, they can monitor and discuss these changes as they occur. It's a little more difficult for us. So that's something else that I want to see how we can better tackle as far as we communicate, because in this region, the media, Homeland Security, and the Weather Service, we're a three-legged stool. And if we are missing one of those legs, that stool collapses. So we're all
on
in
a
this
scale
together,
of 1 to
well.
10, on a scale of 1 to 10, how pissed off were you when you realized, oh my gosh, the weather just took a turn for the worse? You saw everything on social media blowing up, and then you had to come off of your vacation.
Not cool.
I won't give a number, but let's just say that I was motivated to look into the details of that event, and we're going to be looking at this very closely. A lot of people say, well, you're not going to be objective because you are the Weather Service. And let me assure you, I'm very objective because this has been my passion for years, is how we communicate and how we put our knowledge of the weather and the climate into the hands of non-weather people so that they can understand it and be better prepared.
Right.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm thinking maybe 47.
Right.
Maybe?
Yeah. All right.
Well, real quick, Landon. You were mentioning about like broadcast meteorologists and like people whose job it is to track and chronicle and report the weather. In the time that you've been on Guam, I'm sure you've been told stories about someone whose job that was many, many years ago, the great Barbara White. Have you ever heard of Barbara?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of her many, 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 many times, good and bad, pros and cons. I've never seen her or met her. She just is one of those names that has disappeared and nobody knows what happened to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Bree and Chris, you both worked with her, right?
Yeah.
I worked with her when I was at Guam Cable.
The thing about Barbara White is you could tell how bad the storm was going to be by how excited she was.
Yeah.
And then I believe
Well,
she and her
tell you
husband
this.
started that Storm Chasers thing where they would go around and actually like make low-res video, right?
Yeah, that was she was on some, whether she was always accurate or not. I heard, like I said, pros and cons, but she was on to something in the sense that she had access to a broadcast channel and could have mass communication and get that information to the people in ways that the Weather Service has not always done.
Right.
It's part of the larger weather enterprise. And so when it comes to weather, we're the only entity in the islands, and that's for better or for worse.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's like that. But this is where we can really fill those gaps in the communications and work with our partners to say, okay, where's the gaps? Where do we need to reach out and build these communications and improve upon our communications? This is where the Weather Service in Guam really has largest shoes to fill. And I'm excited to be a part of that because I'm a go-getter and I want to make sure we can meet those needs. And so having the close relationship with our media partners here in the islands, I think that's a win-win situation for us because it's not always like that in the States. Yeah. Things can get political. People want to point fingers and cause problems. But, we're in this as partners. You help us communicate. You are our voices. And so I appreciate you all for that.
Well, Landon, you've been a Guamanian for like long enough to know that like probably the biggest virtue of our people is respect. And you've got a quote, or you've got a comment right now from Glenn Lujan, one of our top fans right here on Facebook, and he goes, "Landon has assumed the crown as Guam's weather watchman."
Well, it's a honor that I have, and it's not something I take lightly.
Yep.
Since
lies
I've
the
replaced
crown.
Chip Guard, since I took over Chip Guard's position since he retired in December, it's a job I've been wanting for 6 or 7 of my 10 years on the island since I learned more about his job. And I know that Chip was putting in 70 hours a week in this job for on-site duties across Micronesia, and all these other things that he was involved with around the globe. He was a legendary figure. He still is when it comes to tropical weather. And so I feel so minuscule to follow in his footsteps, but he inspired me, his work ethic and his diligence to not just Guam, but all the people of the region to communicate and make sure people are prepared. And so for me, that's the greatest of honors, and it's not something I take lightly. I take it very seriously to make sure people are prepared, and especially I may not have the 45, 50 years of weather experience and knowledge that Chip has, but I do bring this communication side of skills. I communicate in other ways that Chip didn't. And so I really want to take upon what Chip did, but then build upon it. And I've told people before, I'm not filling his shoes. I'm bringing my own pair of shoes to this platform.
Ooh,
There you go.
And so
there you go. Glad you want to be a chip off the old chip.
this forward.
Right. Well, I just wanted to say thank you, Landon, because I know when we were working on the format of this new show, The Link, I had messaged you and told you about this idea we had for a weekly weather forecast, and you immediately jumped on board. So thanks and kudos to you.
Yeah, I definitely wanted this. And so if we can have more opportunities like this, not even just with you, but other media outlets,
No, just us
I
is
would
good.
definitely welcome it.
They're no fun. That's where all the action is. Thank you, Landon. Appreciate it.
But I can't wait to have you all back in the office when COVID relaxes and disappears finally, because I really want to have you all in this office more often, because that's where I have more fun.
Right, and it's decorated.
Thanks, Landon.
Thanks, Landon. Appreciate it, man. Be safe.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, keep an eye on the skies this weekend.
right on.
Okay, and I got a side message right now from another former Guam Cable TV alumni, Sean Gumatao, who says, I believe Barbara White, who he worked with, may still be living in Barragata, but it's been
Yeah,
years and
I
years.
have a
haven't seen
story about that. I was going to tell you. Okay, Landon. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. There you go. Yeah, so many years ago, don't know, a lot of good stories start like that. I used to cut grass on the side, and I was living in Manila at the time, and I went around asking people, hey, do you want to get your